So today was a day in which our intermediate Spanish 2 class met through Zoom for class so that we could use the online hosting service to do group exercises through breakout rooms. And at one point, particularly the first time I was put into a breakout room, we ended up doing the wrong exercise, me and my partner. So we ended up technically we were probably the last to finish, except we didn't finish at all. But when we were the first to finish, it seemed the wrong exercise. And so we proceeded to pass the time by practicing the vocab. I took the initiative on that. I grabbed the loose leaf binder textbook, though La Professora seemed to refer to it as the notebook, even though technically speaking, notebook in my mind would be that that composition book I used to take down notes for Spanish class, as well as to write down my studying. I hit the limit for gold, so I went over and accepted a couple wholesaler deals. Given how far ahead of the curve I am in terms of provinces, they're probably bold enough to encounter us because they're more than capable of beating us in combat. I don't think I'm some brilliant tactician in the combat for this game, though. Although I am, I do try at times, but it's gonna be a while before I can actually do any fighting. I'll need some squad size upgrades. Dad made this pizza using a Bergoni pizza crust with pepperoni, black olives, and banana peppers. I picked that slice because it seemed like the one without any banana peppers. the chapter we're heading into, chapter 14, it seems to focus on the kinds of things you would find within a city and giving and following directions, it seems. Dad made this pizza around 7 to 8 p.m. Something that I was about to fall asleep. As I made some styrofoams today, but I started work on a big piece, but I put it down because I started to feel tired. This is what I have so far of that styrofoam block drawing. And an idea of how big that piece is. A new Fellowship Adventures opened up on this game. Oh, someone already provided those brewery badges. This is how the Fellowship Adventures looks like. Oh, we're headed for this difficulty level, it seems. Hopefully by the time we get there, I will have advanced to the fairies chapter. I don't have an enchanted tiara, but in one particular pathway I was able to provide everything else. I don't have any more ghosts in a bottle though, and I do have one Carpenter's Guild badge. But there's still a Dwarven Brewery badge needed to start off the middle path. from 6 to 7 p.m., there was a department Zoom meeting with a career advisement in which two alumni gave a presentation who I would estimate to be from their 30s to early 40s. One was known as Chad, who's been in the military for, I believe he said 17 years. And I think, based on what I heard, for the last 7 years, he's been a strategic thinker or strategic planner for the military. As for Tiana, her career is harder to remember. Or at least I don't have a sure thought on it. The presentation involved basically 2 series of Q&A. The first Q&A was conducted by the host. And then the second Q&A was conducted by the attendees of the presentation. I in particular asked the very last question of the second Q&A. By its inherent nature, you couldn't be part of the first Q&A. My question essentially was about this opportunity I first heard of a while back when I attended a career fair at least a year ago. And which that opportunity I suddenly remembered again, thus prompting me to ask the question. basically, and in asking that question, I told some of my basic circumstances. I'm in my last undergrad semester. I'm a political science, criminal justice double major, and I asked how good of an opportunity is it, the opportunity to be, well, not really opportunity. I think that path is more open than an opportunity, but anyway, to be a military, what I described as a military justice, I addressed that one specifically to Chad, since his career was directly into the military. About being essentially, how good is it to go down the path of being a military justice, and how easy is it to get into that? Though again, I target it so that the answer could apply to any students in a similar position to mine. That being what I essentially said. I haven't gotten a reply from my African politics professor yet. Regarding the week 1 assignment. Though I've technically started work on the week 5 assignment, in that I set up a Grammarly project by adding in a title for the week 5 assignment, simply calling it week 5 assignment. I recently woke my dad up at around 11:40. He doesn't have anything he needs to do tomorrow. Oh, it's actually 12:05 a.m. right now, so technically today. Technically speaking, I first tried to wake him up by turning off the flat screen TV with a remote, then going to turn off that light in the corner. But that didn't work, so I walked out, then came back and tapped one of his feet by the toes until he woke up, which took maybe about 3 to 6 attempts. But it did work on that last one. He didn't like being woken up, but I'm sure he's since gone back to bed. He recently started implementing playing, essentially listening to Raindrop ASMR, and he says that with it he's able to fall asleep within 5 minutes. And on a sleeping position, he usually can't fall asleep in, or at least usually struggles to fall asleep in. Excuse me, that sleeping position being on his back, I believe. Which has a nickname as the soldier position. There's also on the side and on your stomach or on your front. One of those, I think, also has the name of the log position. I have no idea whether that nickname is attributed to either on your side, a side technically, or on your stomach. He turned off his laptop, so waking up prevented him from falling asleep on the couch with his laptop still on him, and on top of his stomach with the keyboard lights on. And if he had fallen asleep with the laptop still literally on him, there's a risk that he could have rolled over and the laptop would have been sent crashing to the carpeted floor. He brushed his teeth, and some other important things. And that basically signified a more proper bedtime schedule. Technically speaking, that Spanish Zoom meeting ended on a rather poor note, as at least some of the attendees reported not being able to see La Profesora's screen when she shared, so that we could, do some sort of recap on the subjunctive mood at the very end of class. Excuse me. On the screen she was sharing, she had VHL Central running. But at least some of the attendees claimed to not see the screen she was sharing, but I was able to see it. Again, I worked on some styrofoam drawings today, including, technically speaking, starting that one. Dad wasn't happy that I started work on making a drawing out of such a big styrofoam piece. That came shortly before, roughly 45 minutes before that, 6 to 7 p.m. What I called career interest session, but they probably called it a career advisement session, but I still called it career interest session. In the email I sent around an hour before the actual session started, I was still thankfully able to get the Zoom link to it. I was able to join roughly 15 minutes before the actual session started. This is all good because now that I attended that session and asked a question, I figure out how to raise my hand in Zoom. I'll get plenty of extra credit. And my national security class, I don't particularly need the extra credit at this time, but it's wise to do everything you can to get good grades in your college classes. Though it's also important to ensure that you actually learn the material. I've got around 10 to 11 maps beaten in chimps mode on Bloons TD6. I got that new big update in which they introduced the Sada hero, the new Swordmaster Sada hero. She's awesome. And I also like the new map they introduced with her. And I, within an hour of installing the new 24th update, have beaten the new Balance intermediate map, the new intermediate map called Balance, on the easy difficulty, as I've done with every single map, so I know there are now 53 maps in game.